Welcome to Screen Quest, a podcast where a fellowship of film lovers and armchair movie experts plays film roulette. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Waterman, joined by Mae Finch.
Hello, hello.
And we have Will Rotondi.
Hey, what's going on?
I just want you guys to know that I finally reached the point where I can do that intro without looking at my notes. I'm so proud of myself.
Nailing it.
Oh man.
Only took 20 takes.
Yeah, it only took 20 takes. I think it's like the tongue twisty thing more than anything else. Like if I had time to like jot it down, I probably could have done it prior to that, but actually spitting it out in one smooth sentence is it's harder than it sounds. Probably.
No, we didn't really make a great like elevator pitch that rolls off the tongue. It fits the podcast, but it does not roll off the tongue.
It does now. I feel good about it. I genuinely do, but it did take a little bit of time. But how are you both doing this evening? We're recording in kind of like a off schedule because I will be on a cruise for a week beginning this Sunday. But how are you guys doing tonight?
Good. No complaints.
I am here. I am existing.
Me too. It's that pre-vacation chaos we were talking about off mic here.
I just think it's a long Thursday.
It is, right? I don't know if it's like because there's like the long weekends, like always kind of fucks things up. Like
that's a good point.
Yeah, but so we're recording this the Thursday evening after Labor Day to contextualize that a little bit. I always feel like when I record at night, like it has like a different kind of like feel. Like I feel like we're doing like a late night, like kind of like talk show here. I am digging that vibe. I desperately needed to unwind, so I'll take it. I got a little glass of whiskey here. So yeah, ready to get into it. On this week's episode, we will be talking about The Princess Bride. Fair to say it's your favorite movie of all time, Mae?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Mae's favorite movie of all time. Of course, the prompt was more than the sum of its parts. So we're going to talk about why everything works beautifully in tangent on The Princess Bride. We'll also be drawing a side quest as always. But first, ask and you shall receive. Roughly a month later, we finally have an update in the form of a trailer. Little teaser for Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. So we are going to kick it off with a little chat. We haven't even talked to each other about this, so I'm very excited to hear your impressions. I'm going to go down vertically again from how you are on my screen. So Mae, you get first crack at it. What did you think?
When they said teaser, they weren't kidding. There's not a ton to go off of. It was cool to actually like see the cast in costume. I'm so excited to actually meet these characters. Janelle Monáe is like one of my favorite people, both as an actress and a performer, and I'm so excited that she's in this. But I will say, like, I was getting kind of a vibe from like And Then There Were None, the Agatha Christie novel, and I'm wondering if this is possibly going to be an homage or adaptation of that. Just because it seems like there's this big cast of characters in this house together. And I obviously there wasn't much to go on with the trailer, but there does seem to be some kind of conflict and central murder mystery. And it's one of my favorite Agatha Christie novels. So I'm selfishly hoping that there are some aspects from it.
Can you give me a brief description of like what? Because some of them I know by names, like obviously like the Orient Express and things like that. But like
a bunch of people are invited to an island by
the track so far.
Yeah, a bunch of people are invited to an island. They don't really know each other. They only kind of loosely know the people inviting them, who are conspicuously absent from the island. And I don't want to spoil anything, but someone gets murdered that first night. Okay. And there's still really no sense of why they've all been invited there, except for the fact that each of them has committed a crime in the past, and those crimes have been publicly announced by a recording once they all arrived.
Very interesting. And, I mean, your theory sounds sound. Seems sound. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. w- how are we feeling like on an excitement level, like with your sneak peek, like from 1 to 10, 10 being like you can't wait to see it, 1 being like you could care less?
I'm gonna put 10 right now, just because I haven't seen anything that is scary to me. Like, oh, I don't know how that's gonna play out. I am going to cling to that excitement until I see a red flag. What about
I
you,
love
Will?
it.
I'm excited, just because it has the same feel to me, like the trailer for where the original felt, and I have a lot of faith that Ryan Johnson will, get the same sort of. I feel like there's the potential to have the same sort of magic that the first one had. I like the cast of characters, and just after how goofy and entertaining Knives Out was, I'm ready for some more Kentucky Fried Poirot. It's set. So.
Did you
The
hear that
name.
he lost his accent? Like he like had to like get
Yeah,
it
he had to
back?
relearn it. Yeah.
It's gonna be like just a slightly different Southern dialect.
Yeah, it's like Alabama now instead of wherever it was. It'll just be a different state like each time. Yeah.
I also love the name Glass Onion. It seems very much like Benoitism.
Yeah.
Also a banger, like all Beatles songs, but that one in
True.
particular is good.
Yeah.
From the, I think it's Glass Onion. Nah, I'm not gonna demonstrate my put myself on a limb and say what album. I think it's the White Album, but I could be wrong. But anyway, I think this trailer is a perfect example of what a teaser should be. It gives you a little bit of the tone, a little bit of the feel without revealing any plot points, which is what I honestly want out of a teaser and really trailers in general. Like for the most part, like I don't feel like I just watched the entire movie, which is sometimes how I come away from trailers feeling like I saw like most of the big story beats, right? Like I hate that so much.
Me too.
Distinctly different feel, like I think that's all to the good, and honestly like a stupid thing, but something that really gave me kind of confidence that they feel good about the movie going into like the marketing cycle and kind of lead up to the release is that they are putting out in theaters as well. So I don't know if that was confirmed prior to today, but I didn't know it prior to today. So the fact that they're doing simultaneous like theatrical and streaming like shows that they think this will make some good money and be a decent film. So I'm ready.
All right. Screen Quest group outing.
That would be awesome. It's around the holidays. I will be up in Charleston like around Christmas more than likely. But if nothing else, we can always do like a rewatch virtually. My folks really fell in love with Knives Out like over the pandemic when things were at like their most quarantine state. I suggested we do like a family movie night like remotely, and
Aww.
that's the one I picked because I was like, I think you guys will really like this. I don't ask me why, just it's not overly like morbid, but it is like darkly funny, and it's just like it'll have a lot of tropes that you recognize and feel cozy with, and I couldn't have picked anything better. They still talk about it all the time, so
It's adorable.
so I'm hoping to see it with them like over the holidays. It'd be fun. Cool. All right, well, if there's nothing else to add to Glass Onion, which sounds like we all can't wait for, let's draw a side quest. And another shuffle we will do. I don't know that we've had this one yet. So this is Deus Ex Machina. So I'm going to pull up my description of that, which is talk about a moment in a film where you could no longer suspend disbelief for the sake of the plot character. So a little different than throw your popcorn. This is more about not being able to suspend disbelief. Maybe we had one of these, I'm not sure, but I'll let you guys ponder. If either of you have something, let me know. I might take a beat and think about this and cut around this. So
yeah, I have to think.
Abracadabra, alakazam. Boom, someone's going to put their opinion here.
I would have to say it's been a while since I've seen it, but I do remember this being a moment when I was watching it. I think I saw this in theaters. Was when I went to go see Die Hard 5. it was like Die Hard. It was like A Good Day to Die Hard, I think was the name of it. And I had always been a fan of Die Hard. Like I'll talk about the original one like all day, any day. The second one too, and you know what? Actually, even the third one. But there's a chase scene I feel like is early on in the film, and it's going on in Moscow because the film takes place in Moscow, and I really don't remember the detail. It's like John McClane's going to find his son, who I guess is undercover in Moscow. And I wish I could tell you more, but again, it's been so long, and it's like it's sort of like the last Indiana Jones movie where you try not to remember it as much as the others. But he's going over there to find his son, and he gets into there's like the obligatory car chase scene, and he's in like an old rusty lorry that ends up getting smashed, I think, at some point during the chase, and he just like pops out of that thing without a scratch on it, like freaking Superman. And I just remember thinking, this is the guy who got the crap kicked out of him at the Nakatomi Tower in the first one. Like he was very much like the everyman. He was you could empathize with him as a character. He was vulnerable in the sense that he could die. And then at the end of it,
not easily though, as the
that's
title
true.
would suggest.
Yeah, that's but yeah, it was like, you watch this and suddenly he's become like a superhero. And I think to me that was sort of the point where I just thought, nah, I'm good now. So that unfortunately for me, that was kind of where I just sort of like, I didn't tune it out, because most movies I'll watch just for the sake of seeing, what happens, especially if it's with characters from a series that I've enjoyed so far. I'll give it a chance. But yeah, there was just something in that moment that I thought, no, this is not going to go the way that I thought it was going to go, unfortunately. And I can't take it as seriously as I may have to try and be in that world. Just suspending disbelief with the other films as they are up until that point.
For context, for May, to make it that far into the series and finally have to draw the line, like, speaks volumes about Will's really anybody's tolerance, like, and willingness for disbelief, because there are some stretches in those movies up to that point. And so I kind of want to watch this just to kind of see the scene you're talking about, because like it's the first Die Hard movie that I didn't like. I've made a conscious effort to like not see.
Yeah.
And I think there was a sequel after that, right? Like Live Free or Die Hard, right? Or Good Day to Die Hard.
Live Free or Die Hard, I think, is the fourth one.
Okay.
And so that was where, and I remember when that one came out, I think a lot of people were kind of apprehensive about that too. Like it wasn't as well received, but looking back on it now, I'd actually still include that one as one of the good Die Hard films. Like honestly, I think 1 through 4, I could appreciate each one of them for what they are.
Okay.
But yeah,
I didn't see either of the 2 new ones. Like, so yeah.
Yeah.
That's commitment. I mean, yeah. I've definitely gotten into series that were not good. I got involved and I couldn't break myself out of them. I ended up watching Riverdale for a shameful number of seasons.
Noise.
I heard decent things about that to start anyway. Like
the first season was okay. It was okay. It was not great, and it went downhill so sharp. Die Hard is actually on my shame list, though. I will have to watch it this Christmas.
Yes, appropriate.
If we do a month of December special list, you can bet it's going to be on probably one of our lists. Will or I's, at least, I would think.
It's already there.
Both of your lists are just going to be Die Hard movies.
Yep. Yeah, it's just Die Hard 1 and 2, I think, are both at Christmas.
That's true. So yeah, they're
got
Christmas
2
films
that you can pull from.
That's right.
I'm ready.
Just Die Hard 2, Lethal Weapon, like just all action movies from the 80s.
All Alone.
All Alone, yeah. Oh, good times.
Excellent.
Well, I appreciate you sharing, and it does make me want to watch it more, kind of. So just to see like where that line is, you know what I mean? Well, May, since it is your main quest today, I am going to turn it over to you for a bit to lead us through the discussion of your favorite movie. Like, no pressure there.
Yeah, so The Princess Bride came out in 1987. It was directed by Rob Reiner and is based on a book of the same title by William Goldman. I don't know if you guys have read the book, but it is, I would argue, even better than the movie, and this is my favorite movie.
I'd agree.
So would strongly recommend the book to anyone who is not, even if you haven't seen the movie, it's still a quality book. But yeah, it's a very interesting movie because it is in and of itself a like fantasy, adventure, romance. I love how in the framing of the film, there is a grandfather reading a storybook, the book being The Princess Bride, to his sick grandson, and he pitches it as, containing adventure and torture and love and great heroic acts, and has like a whole list. And it is basically the trope list for the movie. It's great. uh, um, and the reason I picked it for this category was because it is all of those things, but is also kind of an overdone satire of these genres and tropes. And it's a very funny and wholesome ride the whole way through, and is very tight on storytelling. The runtime is actually just shy of an hour and 40 minutes, but a lot happens. It stars Carrie Elwes and Robin Wright as the kind of central couple that is fighting for a future together, as well as Mandy Patinkin as Inigo Montoya, who I'm sure everyone has heard his little speech by now. And it has Andre the Giant as Fezzik and Wallace Shawn as Vizzini. There's a lot of other really great castings, like Peter Falk plays the grandfather reading the story. Carol Kane and Billy Crystal play an old couple with some magical miracles that the gang takes advantage of. And yeah, it's a really beautifully cast film. It is quite a ride. The basic plot is that Carrie Elwes plays Wesley, a farm boy. Robin Wright plays his kind of love interest, and he and she slowly fall in love on their farm. He leaves to kind of like go work on a ship and make money for their wedding, and she finds out that his ship was captured by the Dread Pirate Roberts. And as everyone knows, the Dread Pirate Roberts, does not leave any survivors, so she takes that as, okay, he's dead. In the 5 years that quickly span, she is spotted by our villain, Prince Humperdinck. Humperdinck, who decides that she'd make a great wife and makes her an offer she can't refuse. Brings her back to the castle with him. She gets kidnapped then by an interesting trio, Vizzini, Fezzik, and Inigo Montoya. They are basically capturing her in kind of like a weird false flag thing to frame another country for her assassination. And it's revealed later that Prince Humperdinck was behind the whole thing. But they get tracked down by this mysterious figure in black, and he bests Inigo Montoya at fencing in a really beautifully choreographed sword fight. He bests Fezzik in a challenge of strength, and then bests Vizzini in a challenge of wits. Once he's actually alone with Buttercup again, he eventually reveals that he is not the Dread Pirate Roberts, but actually Wesley, who has sort of become the Dread Pirate Roberts and was not actually killed. A lot more happens. They get hunted down by Prince Humperdinck. Wesley dies mostly, and then is brought back to life by a figure named Miracle Max. He's now being helped by Inigo Montoya and Fezzik. They all storm the castle in grand fashion, get Buttercup back, and Inigo Montoya is able to finally kill the man that killed his father, which is an important subplot. And they all go riding off on 4 white stallions into the sunset. Basically the plot. If I missed anything, please chime in. But yeah, so lots happens in that hour and 40 minutes. I think both of you had seen this before, but if you remember, what were sort of your first impressions watching this film? Like, did you go into it knowing it was going to be kind of an over-the-top satire, or what kind of frame of mind were you in?
I first saw this pretty young, like 9 maybe.
Oh,
And ironically enough, or coincidentally is probably a better adjective actually, the way it was sold to me was very similar to the grandpa to, Fred Savage. Like, which is like, I'm like, this sounds lame as fuck. The Princess Bride, like, I know I will not be watching this movie. And my friend like quickly fast forwarded to like give me a little glimpse of the part with the eels. He's like, here's like an example of like, and I was like, all right, this looks wicked. All right, like let's go ahead, spin it up.
The
And
eels sold it to you.
it did, yeah. Because we've talked about it. I got monsters behind me. I was big into monsters and stuff like growing up, like in sci-fi and horror and like action and all that. And so yeah, like, and then it was probably not until like high school where I like rediscovered my love for it, like because of the book. In particular, like going like, oh, I want to read, and then just being surprised at how close like everything from like the frame story like set up to like uh something like as simple as the priest saying like love true love, like it's written like that in like the book, like and then it's like, man, I now I want to watch this movie again. And since then it's become like just one of my all-time favorites. Like I've probably seen this movie like 20 times 30 times in my lifetime. Like it's a lot. I even went as Wesley for Halloween. Maybe I'll post a photo somewhere over there.
Oh, please do.
Over there.
At least in the group
yeah.
chat.
Oh,
of,
heck yeah.
of Marianne and I as Buttercup and Wesley.
Oh,
go-
that's so perfect.
I could always tell who the cool people were. We went out and about in West Palm that Halloween, and I knew who the cool people were, this like big downtown block party, because anyone that was like, hey Wesley, hey Buttercup, I was like, yeah, you're good people. And then people were like, hey, it's Zorro and somebody, and I'm like, boo. Granted, like Wesley does look like Zorro, but like Marianne had like a really nice replica of like the red dress, like hair done up the right way. So anyway, that's a very long-winded way of saying I've loved this movie since I was 10. And no, I did not know that it was like the self-referential stuff didn't really occur to me until like probably like second, third viewing as I was a little older. So
Chris, it's funny you mentioned Zorro. This is just a small aside, but Carrie Elvis will talk about like getting injured a couple times on set, and apparently the guys at the hospital just called him Zorro.
amazing.
Nice.
That's great. I love it.
What about you, Will?
I definitely haven't seen it as many times as Chris. I haven't read the book, and I probably saw this when I was younger. Yeah, I don't think I was as young as 9, but definitely, I want to say maybe middle school. That's when I saw it the first time, and I liked it. I think it's funny just the reaction though about the about I think for me, I appreciated listening to like the kid when he would get frustrated with the grandfather about reading the book, like just all his reactions to like oh, this is a kissing story, or like when he straight up was like, Jesus, grandpa, what did you read me this thing for? Like, that is my favorite line in the entire film from him, is just his reactions to everything that's going, the cuts back and forth. I loved it.
Especially when he thinks that Humperdinck is marrying her. He's like, hold up, that's
you're
not
telling
right.
it wrong.
Because it's such a relatable kid thing, right?
Yeah, we're just like, wait, no, the good guy's supposed to win. This is not the right story. Yeah. So definitely, I think that I don't remember, and my mom was the one who recommended it to me. I don't remember if there was any preface behind the what to expect, because sometimes she would tell me a little bit about what I was getting into, such as 2001: A Space Odyssey, like prepare yourself. I don't know if there was any sort of like primer for going into watching the Princess Bride. It was more just like a little goofy, a little satirical, but that was probably about the gist of it. And yeah, no, really enjoyed it. I love I I like how it tries to be serious in some parts and then completely embraces not being serious in other parts. Like especially like the Billy Crystal as Miracle Max is like amazing. And I think I appreciated that a lot more the older that I got. But yeah, no, it's a great movie. I would recommend it to anybody to watch at least once, even if you're not big into that kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely give it a shot.
Yeah, I despite seeing this so many times, I still laugh as soon as Billy Crystal gets on the screen.
Oh yeah.
I can't help myself. It's great. Do you guys have
Yeah.
like a favorite character or
I
favorite
mean,
scene?
Ooh.
Miracle Max is pretty up there for me, just as like a nice MLT, the mutton, lettuce, and tomato. When the mutton is lean, the tomatoes ripe. Oh, they're so perky. Like, I don't know. I'm with you. Like, for a small character, he does a huge impression.
Oh yeah.
We're talking main characters. It's gotta be Inigo, and
It
I
can
think
be anyone.
I'm slightly skewed by the book too, like because you get like his whole backstory in a little more detail.
Oh yes.
So like that's my favorite, I think. But I recognize that I'm influenced by like some book knowledge. But
I got to give Carol Kane a shout out if we're going to talk about Miracle Max.
Oh yeah.
Because I think she's also amazing and
I'm not a witch, I'm your wife.
I I think she is, in anything I've ever seen her in, she is always so much energy and so much fun to watch, and so that's no exception in this. I don't know, I got to throw out some love for Andre the Giant, man. I got to throw out some love for his character, because I mean he's always just so, like, I don't know, good natured. He's always happy. Even like all the weird stuff that goes on around him, he's just even keel. He's not worried about anything. He's just kind of like, all right, this is what we're doing. And he might get lost along the way with some things, but I don't know, he's always got everybody's back when he can. So
his friendship with Inigo is very touching.
yeah.
he looks like he would give an amazing hug too. Like he would just lift you up and be like, oh, like.
I'd love to just strap on his back and he can haul me up the side of a cliff and we'll see how far we get,
My way is not very sportsmanlike. I love his general disposition is pretty awesome.
Yeah, for me, I'm also pretty biased towards Inigo Montoya just because I read the book and you learn a lot more about him, but also just very genuine passion that he shows. And it's interesting that his quest, it's not obviously not like the main quest of the film, because that's rescuing Buttercup, but his quest is also like what seems like a very stereotypical revenge plot. But this is a little behind the scenes factoid that hopefully doesn't spoil anything for Will's game later, but he revealed that his own father, Mandy Patinkin's father, actually died right before filming of cancer, and he sort of went outside before filming that scene where he finally does confront the six-finger man and like talk to his dad, and kind of framed it in his head like, I didn't get to like fight the cancer, but this is me essentially doing that. And so when he's like screaming that he doesn't want anything, he just wants his dad back, you son of a bitch, that's very earnest and heartfelt, and it really comes through. And yeah, that you can see videos of him talking about it. I always get choked up when I watch, but yeah, so I love the character in large part just because Mandy Patinkin is so genuine in it, but also because of all the background that you get in the novel. I also I love Peter Falk as the grandfather. He's great. It's like kind of the platonic ideal of a grandfather, I guess. And also I loved Columbo. I watched that a lot as a kid too.
Oh yeah.
So it was cool to see him. I think the first time I watched this, I actually said Columbo when he walked on screen. It's like, what's he doing here?
Excellent.
And then of course we have Carrie Elvis as Wesley and Robin Wright as Buttercup, which I think both of those roles are perfectly cast. I love how much Robin commits to her lines as well, because it could come off as very naive and ridiculous a lot of the time, but she's just her loyalty and determination do really come through in her line delivery. So I think it avoids being too cheesy in that way. Yeah, it is very hard to pick a favorite character. Vizzini is also great.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's like very good at making him easy to hate. Like the only thing they could have done is made him like kick a dog or something, but the whole battle of wits scene like really stood out to me as a kid as well. In part because like that's totally kid logic to go and point behind someone and be like, hey, what is that over there?
Yeah, that's always a head scratcher for me though. Like, I'm glad I have you two to bounce. Like, why if he has the ultimate say over who drinks what, like why does he do that? It's always bothered me. So Marianne and I always come up empty on it. Is it just for jokes? Like is it just to be silly, or
I want to hear Will's take. My take is that it's partly a joke, partly he is so confident he knows which glass it is that he wants to like see the like satisfaction on Wesley's face when he thinks that he's chosen wrong.
Gotcha.
Before he kills over and dies. I feel like Vizzini would be into that.
So it's more about making Wesley think he's, you know, Vizzini is going to die, and then revealing that, like, in fact, it's Wesley.
Based on how the rest of the scene plays out, I would say that. Makes sense. I also think it's just supposed to be funny.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. What do you think, Will?
No, I mostly just thought it was for laughs. So, but I actually like your theory with that.
Getting into the mind of Vizzini.
Yeah, it's very convoluted.
Yeah.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect. Yeah.
That's such a great like backhanded compliment.
It is.
I feel like I could just kind of rant about this movie for ages. So I do want to give us like some direction in terms of what this draws upon from action, film, and fantasies, stories, and romance. How do you guys feel this played with those kind of tropes? Obviously, I think it went together beautifully, but I am inviting criticism this one time. So
This is a safe space. Whatever you say in the next 5 minutes, it's safe. Anything after that 5 minutes, there will be consequences.
I'll let you go first, Will, if you like.
I think the movie does a good job of balancing them out. I don't think that it ever really gets overly cheesy. I think there's enough humor to balance out. You know, you've got the love story, but you've also got the action. You try to touch on all the tropes that were mentioned at the beginning without like hamming it up too terribly much, but still keeping it very lighthearted. I don't know. I think that actually what you said at the beginning with the fact that so much goes on in this film in such, I mean, it feels like it's not a whole lot of time passes. Like it's all very quick and there's a whole lot going on. But at the same time, it feels just resolved. It feels like it's just enough of each of the parts. It's not too much of anything. And you never really feel like time is dragging with the pace or with the storytelling. And so I really appreciated that. And I think overall it does very well what it set out to do, which was, you know, have the little side stories, have these characters, but they all have a resolution in the end that works for what they need. And, you know, you get the comeuppance for the villain that you want for Inigo. And you get a love story where everybody makes it out okay. And so, yeah, I think overall it does a really good job. I never really felt like it was too much in one direction or the other.
No, I was just going to say that is a very even-handed take. Thank you, Will.
And not trying to glaze over anything for the sense of safe space. I actually did really that is how I really feel about it. So
yeah, I think what makes this movie work so well for me is that like it winks at you a lot. It even goes so far as to, I think both of you have said it, like outline like the sort of tropes that it's going to play with. So it tells you in advance that we're going to be in this playground, like with all these things that you're very familiar with. and then it pulls this brilliant trick of being ultra earnest in some moments and like double daring you to like not care and be invested, right? And I think that's really, really smart and nuanced and difficult to pull off, but I think they do it really beautifully. And I love that in kind of laying bare those tropes. It's kind of telling you like or I guess confirming for you that the reason that we tend to like these sort of movies is that familiarity of like, yes, I've seen this story 100 times before, I don't care. Like that's part of what makes it's that universal appeal of sort of having a formula. And you know, sometimes we just want to see the bad guy go down, the couple get together at the end, and everything to work out happily ever after. Yes, we know it's cheesy, but it's nonetheless appealing. There's an appeal to that. So I just think this movie works wonderfully because of that.
For me, I think we're given a promise early on in the film that from Wesley that nothing can get in the way of true love, even death. And it's I mean, when we're thinking about like sort of comfortable story arcs and comfortable tropes, that's kind of the comfort promise there, because they kill him not once but twice in this film. But the promise is that true love, you know, can surpass death. And what do you know? He's riding off with Buttercup by the end of the film, having died twice. And I like that the film delivers on that promise in a way that is such a far stretch and very funny. And yeah, just I think it plays with that audience expectation of like, oh, this is an action film or this is a romance film, so we're going to see XYZ. And it's like, yeah, you will end up with your happy ending. You will end up seeing all these cool action things, but it's not going to be the way you expect whatsoever. I also just love the way the dialogue is. It's very tongue-in-cheek, but there is, I don't think, a single extraneous line. Like there is no filler dialogue. Every single line matters and has either plot significance or tells you something interesting about the characters, like the banter back and forth that I love between Inigo and Wesley as they're dueling. You find out that they're both, you know, very honorable men. They are unfortunately opposed to one another because of their missions, but they're both very honorable men who are very skilled at what they do and are both not left-handed. And then you also have scenes like the ending, which I do want to get your guys' take on, where Wesley has to pull off a major bluff to Prince Humperdinck in order to save the day.
Talk about promises. I love how he says it won't be the last, and then just it's a series of like insults along with the bluff, like, you know, it's possible, pig, like, and he just keeps like every time he spits out a line. I love that because A, it's just funny to hear him like, you know, call him different names, but B, like when you like you realize that the prior line is like it won't be the last, like he's making good on that promise. Like,
exactly.
by continuing to hurl insults at him while bluffing. So sorry. Anyway.
No, that's a great point. Like a big part of the comfort of the film is the fact that it makes these kind of outrageous promises, but manages to keep them in really funny ways. What did you think of that kind of bluff scene? I was trying to remember back to when I first watched this. I was also very young, so the memory is a bit shady, but I remember being extremely impressed, at least as a child, at his ability to kind of put on a brave front in that moment. Looking back on it now, it's almost Shakespearean in the way that the bluff and insults are crafted. So I'd say it holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean it's one of my favorite parts. There's such an intensity when he stands up and says, "Drop your sword," you know. It's believable even knowing that he's incapable of fighting, like in that moment, like that, like, oh, this dude could kick your ass. And it helps, of course, that he's kind of demonstrated time and again that he's more than capable of handling danger. So I think his reputation's preceding him a little bit there and helping him out. But yeah, I love it. I mean, it's a great bit of acting from Carrie Elves.
I think the first time I watched it, I really thought that maybe he would be able to fight. Like suddenly he would have all of his, his faculties back and he'd be able to take him on, which just goes to show how much it was convincing enough. Although I was pretty young, so that's arguable one way or the other about it. But still, I agree. I can't think of anything else to add to what you guys have already said. I thought it's very believable and that it goes to show just how confident Wesley can be about when he wants to pretend to be something that other people don't know who, like, for instance, his real identity when he was portraying the Dread Pirate Roberts, and now to be able to convince Humperdinck that he can kick his ass. Absolutely, I believe it.
And you just reminded me of the whole mask thing, and also looking at your background. Do you think that was like a nod to Clark Kent, or just to be extra ridiculous? The fact that his love of his life can't recognize him because he has a mask over his eyes.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a shout out to like simpler iterations of like concealed identity, where like you didn't have to do anything too elaborate, like in those old plays or films or serial adventures or whatever, where that was just like, that was good enough. Or like, to your point, Superman, I'm sorry, who are you? Like, just put on the glasses. Like, who is this mysterious?
Hey, it's that guy,
hulking dork. Like, yeah.
Where did Superman go?
Yeah. Or like Batman with like a gravelly voice versus just talking like Bruce Wayne. Yeah.
Another scene I do want to talk about before, I guess, turning it over to trivia and final thoughts is when Inigo is confronting the six-figured man. Obviously, I talked a bit about the background for that. I don't think there's too much use in like maybe in ranking the different sword fighting scenes. I mean, there could be, but what did you guys think of that scene compared to like the earlier sword fight between Wesley and Inigo, where that first sword fight, to me, it's very much the two just kind of like testing each other and almost like kind of like sparring for sport and just to kind of push each other's limits. Whereas when he's taking on the six-fingered man, it's I mean, clearly Count Rugen is playing underhandedly, but it just the tone is so different, right?
Yeah, and I always feel like the villains always want to play dirty. They always have like a knife or something that they conceal that they want to use to fight dirty. So right off the bat, man, when he throws it and stabs him right in the gut, I remember, I think the first time I watched that, I thought, oh, he's gonna die. Like, oh crap. And there's a lot of blood, I think, surprisingly, for this film. When people get stabbed, there's actually like suddenly it's like a quick take, and the next take you see of their arm, it's like their whole sleeve is bloody. So I think that was surprising to me too the first time I saw that. But yeah, like the initial fight scene that we get, it's all very playful and entertaining, and then the second one, it's very serious, very like, okay, this is to the death, and who is really going to bite the bullet on this, or I guess the sword blade. So yeah, a lot quicker, less playful, and deadlier. And yeah, I mean, that final line from Montoya right before he stabs him, man, it's intense.
Yeah, I really like the intensity, obviously, like in the acting. There's like this great I don't know, it's like a mid-distance shot where he's kind of like leaning on the table and his hand seems to be like kind of instinctively like blocking, like he can barely stand. And I've always enjoyed that, because it's like he's running on like pure instinct and adrenaline, like he's very hurt. And I just love how his hands like popping up to block the sword blows. I've always really enjoyed that. And yeah, it just like speaks to, I guess, his desire to see his like mission through, that he's like, not mortally wounded, but he's seriously hurt and is still able to finish the job and come out victorious. The matching slashes obviously is a really nice touch. He's kind of returning that wound in kind, And
Mhm.
I've always kind of noticed that kind of in a Han shot first way, like Count Rugen's the one that like goes to attack him, and then like that's when he like lands the killing blow, so he doesn't
Mm.
do it on like a defenseless, you know what I mean? Like so I think that
Yeah.
helps kind of keep the audience right there with him, and like that it's like it's not cold-blooded, it's like that mortal blow that he deals Count Rugen's, and still in self-defense, you know. So yeah, a lot of little touches. I really like that scene though.
It also kind of recontextualizes the first fight for me because you see how Inigo fights when he is really trying to kill someone, and
Yeah.
it becomes apparent to me, at least, that the fact it didn't even land like a grazing blow on Wesley. Obviously, Wesley is a very powerful sword fighter, but also I think I don't think he ever intended to actually kill Wesley. I think he was just trying to dissuade him enough to stop following them.
Mm.
At least that's my little pet theory.
His heart certainly is not in it, you know.
Yeah.
The Wesley fight.
Well, I could keep talking about this for hours, but I will spare you guys and our listeners. Are there any final thoughts you guys have about The Princess Bride?
Just if you've not seen this movie and you watch or listen to this podcast, like you owe it to yourself. Like just trust me. If you've ever thought, oh, it looks cheesy, or I don't know, like it doesn't look like something I'd be into, like I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So this is just my appeal to you to like give it a shot. Like as May has already said, it's less than an hour and 40 minutes. Like what do you got to lose? Like I guarantee, like you've watched sporting events or I don't know, like YouTube videos probably that are, well, maybe this podcast is one of them, I don't know. that are longer and worse than The Princess Bride, I guarantee you. So
If you're listening to us right now, you could handle The Princess Bride. That's all
exactly.
we're saying.
But it is just
Well
one of the
said.
all-time greats. It is one of the all-time greats. So there's my appeal to you. That's all I have to add.
I can't top that. No, I'm not following that act.
That's fair. That's fair. Then all I will add is if you've ever heard, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die," then you need to see this movie.
That's right.
Agreed.
Or someone say that something is inconceivable.
Inconceivable. Yep.
I do not think that word means what you think it means.
Yep.
We got to do a final or a favorite line then. If we're gonna just go
Oh,
through
true.
this real quick, I feel
True,
like
true, true.
that would be a good way to polish this off. So no, go ahead.
You can go first, Chris, because he's
Nope, I'm
suggested.
thinking. No, I'm thinking. It's hard to narrow it down.
I know what I want to say, but I'm also afraid I'm going to get a word wrong, so I am pulling it up real quick.
I don't know if this is like my all-time favorite, but it's the one I quote the most, and it's very silly. So, Inigo's trying to cheer up Fezzik, who's just been chastised by Vizzini for like thinking. So they're doing like a rhyme game.
Oh yeah.
When he's like, "No more rhyming now, I mean it. Anybody want to beat it?"
Yeah.
I don't know. I say that all the time. Like I don't know why, but it has been stuck in my brain since I was 10, and it's just one of those things that I say sometimes to cheer myself up or just to add a little bit of humor to a situation. So I can't say that's my all-time favorite. But that's the first one that comes to mind. That's like an example of just the silliness that this movie is.
My favorite is definitely just the repeated speech by Inigo, but I think an underrated one, which is a quick back and forth between Miracle Max and Valerie after they've gotten the magical pill from them, is Max says, "Have fun storming the castle," and Valerie asks if he thinks it'll work, and he says it would take a miracle.
That is pretty good.
I like the exchange between Inigo and Wesley / the Dread Pirate Roberts right before they start to fight. When Inigo says, "You seem a decent fellow, I hate to kill you," and Wesley tells him, "You seem a decent fellow, I hate to die." I thought that was just really, I like that little banter that they have.
Such gentlemen.
Yeah, they just seem to have a really good time chatting before they try to fight each other. So
It's also a great inversion of what you would expect him to say, which is like, "You seem a decent fellow. I hate to kill you," right? Like, no,
Exactly.
Amazing.
All right. Well, thank you guys for indulging me on my favorite film.
Thank you.
I'm ready for this trivia. Will, I'm excited to see what kind of questions you got for us.
In true fashion, my questions will either be amazing or they will be awful. But one way or the other, they will happen and something will come of it. So I have 6 questions for you. You have a couple different answers to give for about 4 of them, and then the last of them are true false questions. So
cool. I'm closing my tabs so I can't cheat.
And
All right.
no cheating.
I got my hand on the whiskey, I promise.
Nice. All
I
right.
have my hand on my diet Sprite.
Noise. So our Princess Bride themed questions shall begin. Question number 1. Carrie Elvis wasn't originally considered for the role of Wesley back when they were producing or when they were starting production of it. So which of these 2 stars was actually considered instead? Was it A, Colin Firth, or B, Gary Oldman?
I think I know, but I want to give Chris a chance.
I don't. This will be a shot in the dark. I'd like to think it would be Gary Oldman. That would be wicked. Because like that would predate anything that like I like can recall him being even in a small role. But I'm gonna say Colin Firth like is the most analogous to me to like what they're looking for, but I hope I'm wrong.
I am also going to say Colin Firth.
Cool. The answer is you are both correct. It is Colin Firth.
Hey.
Woo!
Yeah,
And also boo. Show some respect to my man, Gary Oldman.
Gary. So next we come to Wallace Shawn, who played Vizzini, as we've been talking about. Very memorable role as well as voice. For anybody who's ever heard him talk, you will probably always recognize his voice in anything that he's in. But apparently he was also very anxious on set when they were filming The Princess Bride, because he kept worrying that if he screwed up badly enough, he was going to get canned by the director. Mostly because he found out who was originally planned to be in his role. Was the person who was considered for that role besides him A, Warwick Davis, or B, Danny DeVito?
I'm gonna let Chris go first on this one again.
I'll say Warwick Davis, just because he's British, and I think they shot this in and around the British Isles. So that's my only logic.
I am fairly certain it was, in fact, Danny DeVito.
That would make more sense, actually, for like who that character is.
The answer is Danny DeVito.
Hey.
Well done.
Hey. All right. So we are at 1 and 2. Mae in the lead right now. All right. It's question number 3. The final scene that we get in the film originally had a different ending to it that got scrapped. So before we get the ending that we're all familiar with now, what was originally going to happen? Was it A, the grandson, who's played by Fred Savage, imagining himself as the Dread Pirate Roberts? Or is it B, the grandson, again, this time walking to his window and seeing Fezzik, Inigo, Wesley, and Buttercup all riding on their white horses?
Am I going first this time?
I also know this one. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, it is your favorite movie. I feel like that is totally fair. I'm gonna say
I also think
B.
I read the same article Will did.
Nah.
That's okay. That just like that gives you extra fan points. I'm gonna say B.
Remind me which was A and which was B again.
So it's either the grandson imagines himself as the Dread Pirate Roberts, or He walks to his window and sees Fezzik, Inigo, Wesley, and Buttercup on their horses.
He walks to the window.
Okay. Is that your final answer? No, I'm kidding.
It
You're both.
is.
You're both. Yeah. You're both.
Get us
correct.
another copyright strike, why don't you?
Nice. All right. 2, 2, 3. Next. Carrie Elwes had an accident. As you mentioned, there are a few accidents. Well, I won't say one accident, but in this particular accident that happened on set, before he was being referred to as Zorro, he broke a part on his body that he originally tried to conceal from the director. So was that A, a broken toe, or B, a broken finger?
They're both pretty concealable considering his costume. I'm gonna say finger.
I'm going to say big toe.
I don't believe big toe was the answer. No, I kid. It was a broken toe, and I think you're the big toe. So yeah, nice.
If I remember correctly, are there any more questions about this incident?
No. Perhaps the one where he gets knocked unconscious is what you're referring to, or
no, I was just gonna say, if I remember correctly, he broke it using Andre the Giant's ATV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Like a boss.
That's great.
Yeah, no, so it's like, if I remember reading correctly, in certain scenes you can kind of see like that's the reason why he kind of walks a little funny, is because he was trying to hide the fact when they were filming initially, and then the director eventually found out anyway, or he told him, and it was okay, but I guess he was like really nervous he was going to get recast. Unless I misread that, but that was pretty hilarious. Yeah. Man,
no, it happens sometimes. They like, especially like, I feel like more in the 80s, like now, like if it's a big enough star, they'll pause production or shoot other stuff, like if there's scenes without that star. But like there's a lot of famous examples of people getting like canned in the 80s for one reason or another, and having to recast. Michael Biehn in Aliens is like probably my favorite one. Not because like it's particularly interesting in like what happened. So James Remar, who people may know as Dexter Morgan's father in Dexter, Harry, had a terrible drug problem and like stepped away from the role. What I think is interesting about that particular story is that like all of the cast and crew covered for him for like decades, and just said that like it was I don't know, like anything besides that, like they really allowed him a lot of grace and to kind of tell that story when he was ready. And then like when he was ready to talk about it, he was the one that got to kind of reveal that. And I thought like that's a bit of sweetness and like privacy that is not typical of Hollywood whatsoever. And it was just
that's beautiful, actually.
Yeah, like all those people kind of keeping that like to themselves, sparing him the embarrassment, and letting him discuss it on his own terms. So I may not have won the trivia game in formally, but there you go.
Chris, this is the only film I could beat you on trivia.
That's not true at all. But no, you like well played, and like I said, you totally deserve. I mean, it's your favorite movie, so I would expect no less.
Is that the ending? Is that all the questions?
Not over yet, Chris.
Oh, I thought you said you had 6. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just like Khan at the end of Star Trek 2.
No. I don't concede. I will play this out. I will widen the gulf if I have to. Like
Chris,
from your victory.
You seem a decent fellow. I hate to beat you.
You seem a decent lady. I hate to be beaten, I guess.
I'll accept fellow. Fellow is fine. All right, let's go.
Sweet. All right, true or false? Arnold Schwarzenegger was originally planned to be the character of Fezzik before Andre the Giant.
False.
True.
The answer is true.
That That
But
one blew my
apparently-
mind learning that.
Right?
That's amazing.
But apparently when they finally got around to getting things together to start production, his career had taken off so much that they couldn't afford him. So just
That's a
goes to
good
show.
Dreamcast candidate right there. What if Arnold
that is
Schwarzenegger
good.
was Fezzik?
Oh man. Can you imagine? Would have been great.
I will
All right.
I'm gonna put in like a little photo over here. If you've never seen it, Google Andre the Giant, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Wilt Chamberlain standing like next to each other.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so
It's an
cool.
amazing contrast of like size, but anyway.
Also true or false? The names of the fencing moves and styles that Wesley and Inigo Montoya mention to each other while they're dueling are all real.
I don't know this one. This is a toss-up.
I'll say yeah, see, it's hard because like some of the countries are fake in this, but then they make reference to Spain and stuff in the movie. So it's so hard. I'll say true.
And I'm gonna say
Sorry.
false.
The answer is true. So
Hey,
congratulations.
one more
Chris.
point. Woo!
Noise.
You bested me.
On one.
So yeah, I mean that's 5-3. Congratulations, Mae, for taking
Well
it.
played.
Thank
Yes,
you. Thank you.
excellent.
I'll play it to you too. Now I kind of want to know what Agrippa is.
But yeah, that's excellent. Well, the only other thoughts that I have to add, thinking of, if neither of you have seen it before, or to our listeners out there, if you perhaps have never heard of this, back, and I don't know when it was, so bear with me as I try to pull up some facts on the internet, but there was a time where a bunch of actors got together and did like a remake. It's not really a remake, but it's like it's a remake shot on cell phones, iPhones, smartphones, whatever, going back and reenacting basically not necessarily, I would say, shot for shot, but scene by scene of the film, and then they spliced it all together and made a reproduction of it. And it actually has, I think, Rob Reiner and I think his father in it too at the very end of it. It's really sweet. But yeah, there's a pretty good Vanity Fair article that talks about the as they called it, the celebrity filled fan film version of The Princess Bride. And it was done, let's see,
I think during COVID, right?
I think so.
Well, like early COVID.
Yeah, back in yeah, I mean the article was published around June of 2020. So back they did the idea as a way to stay busy during lockdown and also raising funds for World Central Kitchen charity. So if you ever get a chance, it's got a lot of really cool folks that got together to reenact these scenes, just using, basic whatever props they could find, and just some of the acting and goofiness is, I mean, it's amazing, especially if you are familiar with the film. And like we've talked about the stuff that we've discussed in the podcast, just watching that reproduced in that version and being able to identify and know who those characters were, despite the fact that they changed like every scene into different actors. It's amazing. It is, if you are looking for something that's short, it is not. It is basically like watching the entire film, only with this reproduction. So if you have time, I would absolutely recommend it. My wife's family was kind enough to share this when we hung out the most recent time together, and it was hilarious. So yeah, just
I'll
a
post
shout
the
out
link.
to that.
I'll put it in the description. So if you're interested, you can find it pretty easily. I may even put a little clip in, just for shits and giggles, to give a little taste. I'll try to comb through and find something good. So
this is Chris saying that if you're an audio listener, you should become a YouTube watcher.
If you're in such a hurry, you could lower a rope or a tree branch or find something useful to do.
I could do that. In fact, I've got some rope here. But I don't think you would accept my help, since I am just waiting around to kill you.
That does put a damper on our relationship.
I promise you will reach the top alive.
That's very comforting. But I'm afraid you'll just have to wait.
I hate waiting. I could give you my word as a Spaniard.
No good. I've known too many Spaniards.
So you cannot find another way to trust me?
Nothing comes to mind.
I swear. On the soul of my father, Domingo Montoya, you will reach the top alive.
Throw me the rope.
That's where all the good stuff
Hopefully-
happens anyway on the YouTube
Yes.
version.
You can't see the board if you don't watch the show, guys. Come on now, you know. But yeah.
Speaking of the
Guys-
board, shall we find
Yeah.
out what our next movie is going to be?
I just
Yes,
wanted to thank
please.
Will for his game. That was very fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. I love doing these one-offs. Like sometimes I think it's a fun way to keep the theme going. So nice job, man.
You're welcome. And thank you guys for playing. And also, excellent job to both of you for going head to head on that. And also, again, May, thank you very much again for the recommendation. This film is great.
Of course. I will
Agreed.
recommend it to anyone anytime.
All right. Little caveat here. If there's a cut, it's only because we drew a May card. May has had 3 in a row. So blessedly
I'm out.
been able to catch up
Drop
to Will and I. So if there's a cut, that's why. Otherwise, hopefully Lady Luck is kind to us and keeps it interesting and equal. I love how statistically like things swung back the other way. That's good to know that stats still work, I guess. In the post-COVID word. All right, so that was a May card. So you're seeing me shuffle again. And here we go. Just so it's all continuous, we are going to draw another.
May.
Okay.
No. Will.
Let me see who it is. I'm not going to put it down on top of the stack. It is. It's a Will card. So
Oh, nice.
we are in the clear. It is a camp or cringe.
Yes. Yes,
And
my favorite category.
the film is going to be Slither. So
Nice.
James Gunn, right? It's James Gunn directed.
I believe so. James Gunn stars Nathan Fillion, if I recall correctly.
Michael Rooker, who plays Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy. That's why I think it's a James Gunn movie, but yes, this is a sci-fi horror comedy. This is the best way I can categorize this. That is very gross in a funny way. So it is not like realistic gore. It's more about creepy crawly, like oozy stuff.
Yup.
That's my little tease. You feel free to add anything that you want since you nominated the movie, Will, but that's all I got.
It's like if you happen to remember anything about the film, now is your time to share it. No.
Elizabeth Banks too, right? She's in it, right? If I remember right.
She
She's
is.
yes,
Yeah.
the principal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know nothing about this. And I'm excited / terrified.
Don't watch it during dinner and
Yeah, no.
Easy.
Mhm.
Easy.
Yeah.
that's my only advice to you.
Does a
like I said,
dog die?
Oh, good question.
damn.
I don't feel good about the chances, but I'd rather err on the side of no, he's not gonna make it.
You've lied to me before, Will.
I know. I'm trying to
I feel like there
I'm
is
gonna
some
go
animal
bad.
violence, but I don't know if it has to do with a dog. Since we're
Is it something that slithers?
Oh, nice. Somebody says yes, we see multiple mutilated. Hold on, please hold.
Oh.
Is there a
What?
dead animal? Yes, we see multiple mutilated and bloody animal corpses of cats / dogs, etc.
yeah, there's a
Okay.
lot of
A lot of dogs die. Very
Dogs,
graphic.
graphic.
As somebody else posted.
yeah.
I will close Ellie's eyes while I watch this. Good to know.
Perhaps we will watch an early cut of this and then tell you like the timestamps of the maybe just skip.
On this Does the Dog Die website, literally like I don't know, it's not even 10 down. Does a dragon die?
Yes. I love it. Are
I
there
just have to share
spiders?
that.
Is someone stalked? Is a child abused? Does a dragon die?
Some of
Yep.
the categories are really funny depending on the film.
Does a head get squashed?
I was watching Wreck when we were doing Wreck, and I looked up Wreck just because I knew it was going to be like fairly bloody, and I just wanted to prepare myself. And one of the questions is like Santa Claus's actual existence disputed or something like that.
I got in really big trouble in school one time. I'm not going to share it on the
yes.
podcast, but off the podcast, I will tell you about it. I felt really terrible.
Oh God.
I spoiled for somebody that Santa wasn't real. So that's all I'm going to say.
Oh, you monster, Chris.
Could you?
The context of it is like, I actually feel quite bad. It wasn't like a 14-year-old kid where I'm like, get with the program, come on. No, it was actually an actual child and I felt bad. But anyway, I'll tell you that full story off off mic.
How
It
you
was an accident.
traumatized the child.
We're going to go to Chris's confessional after this.
That's a different
Right.
podcast. Like, yeah.
So for those of you who sign up to our Patreon, you'll get 15 extra minutes where Chris talks about that time he traumatized a fellow classmate about
Absolutely. Yep.
After
Well,
hours.
that seems like
Sorry.
a good spot to to bring it to a close. Thanks for listening as always, watching as always. We really do hope you're enjoying it. Please give us a like, share, and subscribe. Interact with us on social media at ScreenQuest Pod on Twitter. And as far as you folks will know, like everything will come out on a regular schedule. But I am taking a vacation for a week, so probably won't be very active on social media because I will be disconnected from the world. But I hope everyone has a great time while I'm gone, and I can't wait to talk about Slither and hear what you think of it. May, you've got a little extra time because of my vacation, so if you need to like break it into chunks or work yourself up to it, you should be fine. But until
When you
next
say
week,
break it into chunks,
Yeah,
just
I
to
was
be
gonna
clear,
say.
phrasing.
Yeah.
sir.
Very bad choice of words.
There'll be
Yeah, I
lots of chunks,
suppose.
my dude. All
There are
right.
lots of
I'll
chunks.
take my time with it.
It's fun though. I mean, at least it's not like, I will say, like, I know I'm like backpedaling here and like going down another tangent, but which I'm want to do, but like it's not like masochistic, like, or like
No.
sadistic, I should say. Like
No.
it's fun. Like it is a fun
Yeah.
movie. Like,
Wait, does that mean it is masochistic?
well, you might be like if you like
If
I
you're
guess,
really
like,
into watching,
but no, it's
yeah.
not like a, I don't know, like something like Hostel. Like, think more like
No.
Cabin in the Woods. Like that's like the
Okay.
best kind of analogy I could kind of draw between like the tone of it. Not as meta, but like still like it is like that kind of horror where it's like it is very fun.
Yep.
All right. Perfect for, frigid September.
Amazing. Oh yeah, speaking of which, here's a little tease for the audience. We may have a little something special for October. For all you listeners, we might be doing something a little Halloween themed for the month, so more on that to come. But until next time, we love you. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.